Hey, welcome to the Generation One podcast. Today we are going to be talking about distractions. I don't know if you've been distracted before, but I can almost guarantee you probably have. I'll speak for myself. I've been distracted by my phone, I've been distracted by people, and I've been distracted by situations that have kept me from being able to be locked in on the things that I'm called to do. And it's so important and so crucial that we stay focused in this season and in every season. To be in season and out of season, we have to be focused on what we're called to do. We have to be focused on what God has called us to do. And it's so easy to become distracted, but I want to help you. We at Generation One want to help you with things that we've learned, with practical tools, as well as spiritual disciplines that we've been able to put into practice in our own lives and see how it helps us stay focused and locked into the things that we're called to do. But without further ado, let's get into this conversation. I'll see you at the end. I have some incredible things to tell you about. But right now, let's talk about distractions. Hey, what's going on? Welcome to the Generation One podcast. I am here with my squad, with the Gen One squad.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for tuning in. Today, what are we going to be talking about, y'all?
Distraction, my boy.
Distractions.
Yes.
And we are going to be talking about dealing with distractions. I think that in the world we live in today, there's nothing more true than the fact that we are so distracted.
Yeah.
We're being pulled on from every single side. We're being pulled on from social media. We're being pulled on from relationships. We're being pulled on from work and life and career and all these things. So how do we qualify what distractions are, right? I think that this is a great topic for us to dive into. And I want to start with this question. What is the biggest distraction that you feel like you've personally dealt with, and how did you navigate that distraction?
I'm gonna go. Okay, so the biggest distraction that I have dealt with were men.
Wow.
Men were my biggest distractions. I literally used to idolize my previous relationships, and that I would literally put a halt on my purpose. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know what my calling was. I heard people talk about theirs. I saw creatives creating, and I was just like, the person that I'm with right now, they're already doing something. Let me just like pour into them. When this is my blessing right here, my tangible blessing right here. He's not a distraction. That's why it's so important to seek God, and God will highlight and show you the healthy versions of what were distractions. And now he's over here pushing me in my purpose.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. And I think that I'm going to define it in this way because I was told this. I think it might have been PT. If it wasn't PT, it was Bishop Jakes, which both, obviously, we all know are like incredible men of God and just live an incredible life of integrity, and they have beautiful marriages. But they actually said, I think it was PT. I don't know where my wife's at, but she would tell me. But he said that marriage and partnership actually is a distraction, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
And thank God you guys have a good distraction, and not a distraction in the sense of like, oh, when I'm with them, it's only about them, but it takes time. Your relationship takes time. So we've defined that now you guys have something that's actually a good distraction. It's actually good that you have this because it's healthy. And in the grand scheme, it's really not a distraction because you guys are calling each other higher and leading each other in your purposes and in what God created you to do. So I love that. And I think that relationships can be a huge distraction when they're not from God. When they're not the right one, the wrong relationship can derail you. The wrong relationship is a huge distraction. So if you're in a relationship right now and you feel like something's not right, you don't have peace, I would say to you right now, you got to get out of there. You got to get out of that relationship because everything that you should have from God should also serve you. It should also serve your purpose. So if that person isn't serving you and isn't serving your purpose, they're not for you. Just point blank period. They're not for you.
I like what you said right there. I mean, just real quick, even a good relationship can be a distraction because it can become an idol in your life. Yeah. You know, like, so you have a lot of good things in your life that God has given us, and then we put that before God. So our priority list gets a little mixed up. So even if it is a good thing, it's like, all right, now I'm pouring more time into this than I am my time with God. You know, we're waking up to be with our partner and not waking up to be with God. So now our sequence is messed up.
Yeah.
So even good things he blesses us with can become distractions from what truly matters, which is connecting with him first.
Absolutely.
You know?
No, I love that. I think that's so true. Like, because God has to be the priority. And sometimes God, to your point, God gives us these beautiful visions and these beautiful things, and because it came from God, it's easy to make that thing our God. And it's not like, you know, I shared with the team, it's not like we're down on our knees worshiping that thing or whatever, but we're giving it all of our attention. That's a distraction. So you have to have the healthy balance of, yes, you want to steward the thing that God gave you well. You want to, you know, go forward to it. You want to pour into it. You want to be able to do it and be faithful. But also remember and recognize God is the number one priority. So for those of you who haven't answered this question yet, what is the biggest distraction you feel like you've dealt with, and how did you navigate it?
I mean, naturally, I feel like I got to go next because, one, I feel like it ties into what my lady just said. Like, my biggest distraction was lust.
Wow.
You know, and had I not gotten a hold of that thing, I wouldn't be able to show up in this relationship healthy, right? I wouldn't intentionally go out of my way to look at women, but I would see women and I wouldn't remove my eyes from it, right? Because naturally, as a man, as a woman, you're going to see somebody that's attractive, but it becomes lust when you stare and you say, dang, man, you know, ooh, bop, bop, bop. You know, like when you go into these fantasies and you create these scenarios in your mind, that's when it becomes a problem. And lust is the sin, right? The action necessarily is not the sin, right? So that's what, y'all know me, I'm the guy that talks about his porn overcoming that addiction, right? And I feel like what happened was I had an unhealthy vision of a woman's body. And because of that, it led me down a road to an action that wasn't healthy.
That's powerful.
You feel me? So lust was my thing.
That's incredible. I heard this once, and I hope I don't butcher it, but it said that attraction is not the sin. The fact that you're attracted to people or attracted to, you know, women, men, whatever you're attracted to, that's not necessarily the sin. The sin is when you take action on the attraction. Because when sin is a seed, right, and it gets planted, then it becomes something that you watered it because you gave your attention to it. And then once you gave your attention to it, you took action on it. And now you found yourself in a scenario where it's like, I'm in this predicament where there's no way for me to get out of it. So just because you're attracted to somebody, that doesn't mean that it's a problem, but it becomes a problem when it's unhealthy and you try to take action on that thing and you prioritize that because you're putting so much value on that connection or that person or that, you know, that attraction based off of this fantasy, to your point, that you created in your mind.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I think for me, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I feel like one of my biggest distractions has been doubt. Wow. I have literally, it's led to procrastination. It's led to self-esteem issues. I would like escape in my mind and make excuses for things and like rationalize them in my head. I don't know if that makes sense, but like I'm missing my purpose. Like I'm telling myself, but you didn't have this, you didn't have that, you're not this, you're not that. I'm not even trying. Like I don't know. I literally get lost in this pool of doubt, and there's moments where I'm like, well, that's good enough. That's fine. Like I hope this is making sense,
makes
guys.
perfect sense.
It does. It's like you limit yourself. It's like you stay in that place of fear and it like holds you. Right? So is that
no, literally it holds me there.
Because you like doubt like derailed you.
Yes.
You know, like I've never really seen it that way, because I think I always identify where I'm at when I am derailed. So I'm like, oh, I'm procrastinating, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But that actually does stem from doubt. Because if I actually had full confidence in the thing that I'm procrastinating, I'd be running at it. But at first you have faith, and then next thing you know, you have this disbelief that comes up and this doubt, and it's like, well, would it really happen like that? What is it really going to happen in this time? And then I start to pull back, and then I start to procrastinate, and then I start to get lazy, and then I start to put other things in front of it. So what you said makes perfect sense, and actually gave me a revelation right there. So that's good.
I think the thing that we'll say about distractions, and I'll share my biggest distraction that I feel like was a distraction in my life, but the thing about a distraction is what it does is it does derail you from going after your purpose. It completely takes you off the course, because now your focus is on that thing, whatever that thing is. Your focus is on that distraction, and it completely removes you from being able to focus on your calling, your purpose, on what God has called you to do. So you have to know that whatever the distraction is, that it's not supposed to be there. You should see a distraction as an attack. Distraction should be an offense in your mind. You should see it as like, oh no, what is this? What's happening right now?
Yep.
Because I'm after something. I'm after becoming everything that God's called me to be. I'm after the calling on my life. I'm after my purpose. I don't have time to be distracted by whatever, fill in the blank, whatever that distraction is. You don't have time. Your life is precious and you have powerful things to do. So you have to see that distraction as an offense, as an attack to your purpose.
Absolutely. That's good.
That is.
Yeah. I'd say, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest things is like you have to know yourself and call yourself out because you know what the distractions are. No one else is going to be like, are you supposed to be doing that? Because you can even look productive while you're paying attention to a distraction or like in the action of a distraction and no one else knows. They're like, oh, she's on her thing. And little do they know you're really supposed to be doing something else. So.
That's incredible. Let me jump in there because my biggest distraction to date was the things that I thought I was called to do, the things that I thought were my purpose, the person I thought I wanted to be. And I didn't even realize it because I was like, oh no, I'm going after my dream. I want to pursue this acting thing and this entertainment thing. And I want to, make these films and do all this stuff and become this famous actor. That's what I thought I wanted. So I was going after that with everything I had. Little did I know that wasn't the thing. Now, granted, God used it and it led me to the thing. And there may still be a purpose for that in my life where I am called to use my gifts in that way. But I was so focused on going after that I made that my idol. I made that God. I was like, no, I'm going after this. I'm going to lay my life down on it for going after these auditions. I will go to whatever extreme I have to go to get that thing. And I prioritized that over God. But the thing is, I didn't know. I didn't know. So I almost wonder if there's somebody who's watching that doesn't know that what you're going after right now is not actually what God has for you. And you keep running into dead end after dead end after dead end. You're going after the thing. You're chasing it down. You're hustling up. You're grinding. But you keep running into dead ends. I think you should pause and ask God, what is your calling for my life? What is your plan for my life? And let God show you what his plan is. Because he will. And more often than not, when he does, all the things that you are passionate about and that you love, somehow, some way will weave into your purpose. But you have to be in alignment with the call of God and the plan that he has for your life. Because that's the thing that will never fail.
Yes.
Absolutely. That just reminded me, like, dead end after dead end it reminds me of, like, when we're praying for something and we keep getting a no, and we keep getting a no and a no and a no. Wow. My buddy the other night was talking about that. He was saying, you keep praying and, like, God's not answering. He's like, no, he is answering. He's just saying no, and you don't like it.
Or
and so it's
nothing.
Or he's saying nothing, and you need to sit still and wait for the answer. But, like, sometimes it's just straight up a no. And, like, I'm not blessing that path because that's not for you. And so that's interesting, like, that dead end after dead end. After a while, you got to stop and ask yourself, why? You got to assess, like, what's going on. Am I building in an area that is not for me? And that's protection, because there are some people where they will keep building and they make this whole life for themselves that was never for them. So you got to know that God loves you. If he's stopping you with dead end after dead end and no after no, he's trying to really stop you and say, I got a plan for you. And I'm not even letting you go any further until you really see it.
And also to that, bro, it's something to say that obviously, we get dead end after dead end, but there also is something in what you're actually the moment you're in right now, right? Maybe you're called to steward that place. Me specifically, I remember I was working a job and I was praying, God, let me, if this is it, if this is for me, let me know. If this is not where I'm supposed to be, get me up out of here. And God's like, nah, you're going to leave, but you're going to leave when your assignment is done. So you're assigned to a space for a reason. If it's a dead end, you might have to change your perspective and see the thing the right way. Ask God, you could change your prayer. Say, God, show me why I'm here, instead of saying, God, pull me out of this place. Because there's a reason you're there. Your light is needed in that room. Your salt in that room.
That's incredible.
That's powerful.
Your purpose never changes, but your assignment does.
Absolutely.
And you have to know what your assignment is. Every time you're in any atmosphere, whether it's work or a relationship or whatever, you should be asking God, what is my assignment in this moment? What would you have me to do in this moment? How would you have me speak to this person in this moment? What is my assignment? Because we can't afford to live directionless. That's why we're talking about distractions, because we can't afford to just live randomly. We're not random. We're called with a purpose. And this is for every single person. You are called with a purpose. You can't afford to live randomly. So whenever distractions come, again, back to that point, you have to see it as an attack against your purpose. You have to.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. I think the scariest thing about distractions is that it takes up room and time.
Wow.
And like I agree, like be still and wait, but I'm big on like making room because we do serve a jealous God. And if we don't make room for him, I mean, he might, like to your point, but we have to make room for God. And I think with distractions, we're focusing obviously on just all these things and we're filling the space that we really should be like filled with the Lord and Jesus. That's scary.
When you said that, that just made me think, when you're paying attention to another voice or when you're paying attention to the distraction so much, God's voice gets a little bit quieter. And he's gentle and he's consistent. But when you're so focused on something else, it's like you're drowning out his voice. That's why when you say make room, that's intentionality. That's literally looking at distraction and being like, no, I'm seeking the kingdom. Like I'm focused on God. So it's a decision. It really is a decision.
That's excellent.
I love that because sometimes it's not even quieter, but it's competing.
Yeah.
It's like music. Like when you have like if you see an artist whole like track after track, they have 100 tracks of all these different things, all these different instruments, and they blend together, and you can it sounds great and everything, but like if you just highlight just the vocals, you can hear just the vocals. So like if you mute all those other things, you'll hear God's voice way clearer.
That's incredible.
really good.
I want to talk about Jesus, because one thing about Jesus that you can look at when you look at his life in the scriptures is that he constantly made sure to get away from the noise, to get away from the distractions, to draw into the wilderness or to draw to the mountaintop so that he could meet with God. Why did he meet with God? Because he understood what he actually said in Matthew 6:33. He said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added unto you. Meaning that everything that you're wanting and desiring that is for you from God is there, but you have to be focused on what he's doing. Jesus also said, I'm here to do the will of my Father. Like that's what he continually said. He said, I'm doing not unto myself, but unto what my Father is telling me to do. Because he was so locked in and focused. So we should look at the life of Jesus and say, oh, you got away from all the noise because that was all distractions. You needed to hear from God, so you actually had direction for your life. That's how Jesus moved. And we have to move like he moved. When I move, you move. Just like that.
Just like that. And in the morning he would go and pray, so he had directions for his day.
Yes.
I know my day is messed up when I just get up and then go throughout it, and then you try and fit God in later. It's like, all right, you already made all your own decisions and directed yourself all day, and then you play catch up.
Can you talk about that? The importance of how you start your day. Like for you, just your personal story of how do you start your day?
Absolutely. If I'm not distracted, I start my day. Yeah, exactly. If I'm not distracted, because I didn't share my distraction. It's my phone.
Wow.
My phone is my distraction, because you wake up, and I used to be really good about it. When I did start my day well, I would wake up and you don't touch your phone for a couple hours. I don't care if you're texting me, calling me, you're not getting in touch with me for a couple hours. I got to be up. I got to worship. I got to pray. I got to read the Bible. I got to journal. I got to see where I'm at in this moment. I got to see how I feel after last night. You got to see where you're at. Like, well, who am I today and going into this day? Because you might not know. You might have been offended the night before, or something might be bothering you, but you haven't checked in with yourself, so you don't know. So you just get up and you run into the day, and you're random. And so I like to get up and see, who am I right now? Sit with God, get instructions for the day, because he is an intimate God, and he gives us daily bread. So if he has daily bread, I need to know what that is. What's my instruction for today?
That's incredible. Because
I'm a freelancer, so we work random hours. We'll film here, we'll film there, we'll edit here, edit there. So it's random. What's my day look like now? Am I editing this thing? Am I editing that thing? But when I wake up and just run in and think I know everything, I could be doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. Wow. So it keeps me intimate with him. It keeps me checking in, like, what's in today? So
I want to tag on to that, because it's you said something about almost this arrogant assumption that you've lived this day before. Every single day is a new day. It's a day that the Lord made for you. To Jalen's point, he said that there's daily bread. And the thing is, sometimes we just feel like, oh, I know what today's going to hold. You don't. It's a brand new day. You woke up on a brand new day. And it's not out of religious obligation that we seek God first. It's out of the knowing that God saw this day already. So I need to seek him because he's already seen this day from the beginning to the end of it. So I need insight and revelation and wisdom from heaven to navigate this day, because I've never been here before, but God has. And that's why you do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Let me ask y'all this. Ooh, this is real good because you touched on your phone, and I got my phone in my hand. This is where our questions are. But how do you stay focused on what's important in a world full of distractions?
Mm-hmm.
You go to God first.
Yep.
You go to God first, and as you're spending time with Him, you attain the focus that you need. And then when something comes at you as a distraction, it's highlighted, and it's like, and you get that feeling like it's a distraction. So the best thing to do is call it and be like, if I do that, that's going to lead me astray. So I feel like it's highlighted after you spend time with God, because the other things are like, it's like, that's different. Everything that comes from God, like the focus, the next step, it comes with love, it comes with peace, right? Sometimes it comes with a little stretching. But when it's something that isn't from God, you're like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you, to that point, like, what would you guys say to the person that just doesn't feel like it? Like, I know it's wrong to be like, I don't feel like God today. I don't feel like worshiping. I don't really want to read my Bible. I'd rather scroll on my phone. Like, how do you really overcome that? Because that's a natural human emotion. And I feel like we have to get to a place where, like, we need God. Like, we need everything else, like water or whatever. Like, we need God. But like, how do you, in distractions, and like the easy answer is, well, just focus on God. What if you just don't feel like it? Like, I know that sounds bad, but like, what do you guys do on those days?
There's a lot of things that I don't feel like doing. There's a lot of things that I don't feel like doing, but I have to do. I'll give you a real simple one. Sometimes I might wake up and be like, and this might be gross, but sometimes I might wake up and be like, I don't feel like I want to brush my teeth right now. I know it sounds gross, but seriously, and I'm like, but I know I have to do that, because if I don't, I'm gonna have stank breath, probably get cavities, and have rotten teeth.
And you're going to offend somebody.
I'm gonna offend somebody. And I know that's a funny reference, and I'm laughing myself, but I say that to say,
They might have rotten teeth.
What
is happening?
Rotten teeth.
let me gather my breath.
He didn't still get a cavity or a little yellow. I'm gonna have rotten teeth.
What is Ren going to say
Not
about
brushing.
that?
I have a wife that I don't want to show up.
What is she gonna
with
say?
Rotten teeth too.
That is good.
I'm probably
I
super
still
red.
love you, baby, but your teeth.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It's funny, but you're probably listening and you're like, yeah, like, I wouldn't want to walk into the day without brushing my teeth. That's gross. Well, the same thing is, when you don't want to prioritize God, you're not going to experience the results. You have to see God as a priority. So I think it begins with, to your answer, the answer was in your question. It begins with you changing the way you see it. Because if you change the way you see it, you'll prioritize it, because you're like, oh, I know that if I don't do this, the results I get aren't going to be good. And I'm gonna live a day that's distracted or random, or I'm going to end the day and I'm going to be upset because I didn't live this day to the fullest of what it was intended for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was good.
Go ahead, bro. Do you think?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it has to be important to you, and you have to find that out for yourself. You know, we can say it all day, put God as a priority, but that's because we found that out for ourselves. You know, before, you could have told me that, put God first, and that was great. But once
It's
I
cute.
really knew Him, it didn't mean everything to me. Because when you know Him and you see the way He works in your life, and you see that He actually does have the best plan, that He always leads you to the perfect place at the perfect time, then you value that. And that's important to you. So then you know, if I don't follow Him this way, it could go a different route, and it won't be the best route. So you got to see that's important to you. It's like when you eat and drink everything you want, and you skip the gym as often as you want, you look a certain way and you feel a certain way, and it just is what it is. It's a physical representation of where your spirit is at.
Boom,
if you
that's
just
good.
put anything in you and you just don't spend time with Him, it just is what it is. You're not strong. You're not built up. You're not withstanding anything. You're very weak. You're very shattered.
Yeah.
And so you sit with God even when you don't feel good mentally. And the thing is, that's the good thing about Him. He cares about that.
Right.
Yeah.
He cares about our hearts. There's thousands of scriptures. There's so many scriptures about how much He cares about us and what we're going through. And so even if you don't feel like meeting with Him because of the space you're in, you can bring that to Him.
Exactly.
You know, and so you got to see Him as a priority in your life for that reason. Like, okay, I trust you because I've seen the results.
Yeah.
So
No, that's
Yeah.
real.
God's worth it. Like,
Yeah.
God is worth fighting through the distraction for, because there's been moments in my life where I did not want to go and get into worship. I didn't want to do that. But I said, if I can, what would happen. And I did it, and I realized maybe I didn't feel up to it at first, and I just didn't feel like doing it. But then I got into that place of worship, and it was like everything I needed. So I would encourage you to try it. Give it a shot. Say, you know what, I'm going to go and get to a quiet place, whether it's in my closet at my house, or maybe your bedroom, maybe your bathroom, maybe it's your car. My car happens to be my place of worship. I will go and sit in the car because nobody can hear me sometimes, and I can get quiet and get still. And if I push through and fight through the distractions that are going on in my mind, all the thoughts of everything running through my mind, if I can push through that and get to a place of worship, God will give me everything I need and then some. And then when I walk out of there, I'm a better husband to my wife. I'm a better friend. I'm a better leader. I'm better at stewarding the thing that God's called me to do, like Generation 1 that we're doing here. Because I said, I'm going to fight through the distractions, and I'm going to fight through all these thoughts and get to the place where God can speak to me, because I need it. It is everything. It's everything.
It's good.
You know, I want to speak to something you said, bro, because it's like, it's so many ways for you to just do stuff and be good by yourself. You know what I'm saying? The Bible says narrow is the path to righteousness, but wide is the road to destruction, right? So you probably on this wide road thinking you smooth, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, I got my nice little whatever I'm driving, but you don't even know you leading yourself, because that's the thing, you're leading yourself to somewhere you don't even know where it's headed, right? But if you get on the path that's ordained for you, you'll be good. And it kind of ties in how your original question, how do you stay focused in a world full of distraction? You are intentional about removing distractions. You got to throw your phone out the house sometimes. Maybe not out the house, that's drastic, but put it under your pillow, put it on vibrate, right? You got to not get on the computer. You got to, for me, it's my music. You know what I'm saying? I put on my music, I create my music, but if I don't go to God first, whatever I create going to be trash. You know what I'm saying? And when I say trash, it's going to be trash to God. It might not be a pleasant aroma to his nose. You get me? Because I could create something good by myself, but if I include the Holy Spirit, it's going to be better. You know? So
Excellent.
It's going to be beneath you.
Right.
Your level that you could be creating with.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
because
good.
when you create with your identity, I feel like I say this every time I get on the microphone, because your identity is everything.
It is.
But if you don't know who you are when you show up in the room, the room is going to suffer.
Wow.
Someone needs to hear that, though. Like what you said earlier, though, about the path. Like, there is a path.
Yeah.
God has a path for you, and it's already written. It's designated. You came here with a purpose. That's why you are here.
Absolutely.
And there's something that he can use you with in the earth. So I like what you said. You know, wide is the gate. Wide is the gate that leads to destruction. Narrow is the way that leads to life. But like, there is a path that you can walk. And so even there's a lot of Christians who are walking their lives out, and they got faith in everything.
Yeah.
But they are seeing the life they want, and they're asking God to, open doors there and bless this and bless that. But God's like, I have a path for you, though.
Yeah.
And so you just have to jump onto his path.
Absolutely.
And it takes trust and it takes faith. And that's why a lot of times in the church we say, believe, believe, believe God, priority this, priority that. But you got to really know him sometimes before you trust that path.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's actually a passage of scripture in Proverbs 23:7, and it says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, or the steps of a righteous man, woman, whoever, your steps are ordered by the Lord. Now you have to make the decision of whether or not you're going to walk in those ordered steps.
Yeah.
You have to walk in the steps that were ordered for your life, because you had steps that were ordered before you got here. Literally, you had steps that were ordered for your life before you even got here. And God said, if I can just get them to align with the steps that I have right there for them, if you've ever seen that picture of the footprints in the sand, you're supposed to walk in those steps because they're already there for you. The sand won't be as rough, it won't be as hard, because it's already made for your feet. So you'll be able to walk in a path that was already ordained for your life. So that's why ordered steps and being able to walk out the plan that God has for your life is everything. And I'm going to ask you guys this, and I'm really excited because this is for the person right now who's watching that is distracted. What would you say to that person right now who's distracted? They're distracted right now. They've got all this noise. They've got social media blowing up on their phone, or they've got craziness happening in their family life, or their relationship is on the rocks and it's really crazy, but they're distracted. What would you say to that person right now?
I mean, this doesn't really sound nice, but I think you have to sacrifice. I think you have to be okay with sacrificing.
Wow.
When you look at, even in the Old Testament, there was always some type of sacrifice. You talk about like your music, men, acting, editing, like these are things we love.
Right.
That's a sacrifice for for God. And I think you have to look at it as that, like, God, I'm giving this to you. I'm sacrificing this, like, for you. I don't know. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's good.
because that's it. You know, you brought it up, but I got to a place with the acting career, the influence, having a platform as a social media influencer. I got to the place where I said, God, I lay this all down for you. And it really was a sacrifice, because everything that I built in the years prior of me moving to Los Angeles was stripped like this, thing by thing. I lost it. I lost it. I literally, everything I built, I lost to a certain degree. But I always had peace. And God, now I look at my life and I'm like, he's restored it times 10. Like, he's restored it times 10, and it's better than I could have ever imagined, and it was worth it. Yeah, it was a sacrifice, and some of it I honestly didn't even have the choice. But because I gave God the hard yes, he gave me what I needed to become who I am today and who I'm becoming every single day. So I love that you said that. What would you guys say? What are you saying to that person?
You just set me up with an alley-oop, because this whole time I've been thinking, when you go and like give someone flowers that is still alive, you say thank you for your yes. So that connects with a no that they didn't take. Like, they had the decision. This ties back to when you were like, what if you're distracted and you don't want to do it? You're deciding to focus on the phone. But no, the great people said, yes, I'm going to be greater. Yes, I'm going to look at the woman or the man that I want to be in the future, and I'm going to step towards that instead of staying stagnant. And what is the saying? Like, irony is doing the same thing over and over and expecting change.
Yes.
Like, you have to say yes to stepping out of that.
Yeah.
I love you said that, because that was in my spirit this morning. You said stepping towards the man or woman you want to become. It was like, let us go on. Like, that's just in my heart for like the body, for like all of us. Like, let us go forth. Like, let us stop staying here in this area. Like, let us go forth. Like, God has more for us. And these distractions are keeping us pinned to these moments that are no longer for us. We have more on the other side. And all we have to do is just keep stepping forward. But we keep just being stagnant because of what we're looking at. But God's like, I'm over here now. Like, let's go forth. Come on, like, keep walking with me. I got more for you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
that's good. Yeah.
I guess to the person that I would say that's distracted right now, I mean, with anything in life, if you're taking steps towards something, there's going to be trial and error. So coming out of distraction is going to be something that you have to be aware that you're going to stumble back into, you know? So be gracious with yourself as you fight for your focus.
Absolutely.
And it's a fight. You got to fight for it. Just like you got to fight for peace. You got to fight for love. You got to fight for everything else, right? But a lot of those things that we fight for can become a distraction. Even our fight can become distraction, right? So I feel like don't worry about the other side. Just be present right now. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, all right, I'm going to try my hardest today to not be distracted.
Yeah.
That's
You know?
excellent.
We'll tie this in right here. Distraction only works because of something you're dealing with. Because we can't just say distraction is just an attack, because sin is not just sin. In James it says, each man, like, sin is conceived after their own evil desire that they already have. So like, you have your own evil desire, and then that becomes sin. So your own evil desire in you, then that's what the temptation spoke to and led you into sin.
Wow.
So you are distracted because there's something in you that is getting with that distraction. That distraction only works for that reason. And so you have to ask yourself, why are you distracted? Like, why is this allowing me to be distracted? What am I running from? What is making this distraction so easy for me? Or you just need to be serious about your purpose and understand that time is ticking, and that you do have purpose, and that you are special, and that you are loved, and you have something to contribute to this world. So you're not just random and just living and can watch whatever Netflix show you want whenever you want, and listen to whatever you want and build your whole life, but you have something amazing to offer to the world. And God actually has something amazing for you. It's not all about just being used, but God actually has blessings for you too. And you're missing out on those while you're distracted. So
Bro, I feel like me and Jalen been piggybacking off each other this whole jump, bro. But you sparked a thought and memory in my head about when PT was talking about, like, but going back to your original point about how you start your day. PT made a reference where he said there's a you that's battling the real you. So it's two versions of you, right? You got your flesh, and you got the version of God. I mean, the version of you that God is calling you to be. So those two things are warring as soon as you wake up in the morning. And you have to take a moment to go in your prayer closet. Even if it's just laying in your bed. All right, God, let's do it. Where we at? That's a check-in.
Yes.
You got to check in with yourself. So in order to avoid the distraction of the day, you have to war with the thing that's warring against you to make you distracted. It's yourself, your flesh.
That's good.
That's so good.
Bro.
Man. It says they're two opposing forces.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Our spirit and our flesh are opposing forces within us.
Bruh.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop looking at you because you.
I know. We in a flow.
Look right here.
Do you have anything that you would say to that person, though? Because before we close, I want to know, what would you say, and you can answer it and make it your own, but what do you say to the person who's distracted? Like, what would you say to them?
When I talked about sacrifice, I really meant that. I think we have to get used to the feeling of sacrifice. And then I feel like it would feel less like a sacrifice, more of like an offering to God.
Sheesh. Yeah, that's real.
And then even really what you said is like knowing you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because I struggle with that. So I'm like, why even go after it sometimes if I know I'm going to go back into the sin or go back into the lust, whatever.
Yeah.
But knowing like that's going to happen and preparing your mind for that, I think that's big as well. But what would you say, Ty?
I would say, to be honest, because I think all of this can kind of tie in. At the end of the day, distractions are going to come. And the enemy is going to use distractions and things to distract you. He's going to even use your flesh to open a door for him to send more and more distractions. Because at the end of the day, the enemy wants to derail you from your purpose. He doesn't want you to become everything that God created you to be, because if you did that, everyone that's connected to you could change, could be called closer to Christ, could literally live their life full of purpose. So what I would say to the person is, you've got to take yourself seriously. You've got to understand, when the Bible says, be sober, be vigilant, for your enemy prowls about like a roaring lion, what it's saying is, be sober-minded. Don't be drunk with distractions. It doesn't just apply to alcohol. It doesn't just apply to, whatever those things are. Don't be drunk with distractions.
Yeah.
Some of us are drunk with distractions right now, and we're walking around all woozy, and we're not able to actually fulfill our purpose because we're drunk. And then it says, be vigilant, be watchful. So that means you need to be aware. You need to be watching. You need to say, is that a distraction? It is. Is that a distraction? It is. Like the Matrix, you should be dodging these distractions when they come, and get yourself into a place where you say, I have to take my life and my calling and my purpose seriously. We don't have time to waste. And yes, you should have grace for yourself, because at the end of the day, failure isn't actually failure. Failure helps you because you learn something more about yourself, so that when it comes again, you now have more strategy to attack that thing and triumph over it. So you have to have grace for yourself, because Jesus came and gave grace freely. So you should have grace in the process, but also understand that grace is not there to just keep you comfortable and stuck. Grace is there to say, all right, you may have got knocked down, but guess what? We never actually fall.
Yeah, that's
We
real.
never actually fall.
Yeah.
If we continue to get up, to rise up, and sometimes we might need someone, a friend, a family member, a pastor, a leader to help us get up on our feet again. We might literally just need the Spirit of God to help us get back up on our feet again. But if we can get back up and say, I'm going after my purpose, God will honor that. And you will be much more fulfilled because of it.
Yeah.
So, no, you got it.
Can you imagine if like everyone woke up and did that?
Yeah.
And just really walked in their
Sheesh.
purpose and removed the distractions and focused on God. I think Pastor Roosevelt said it in Loading Part 2, like it's not a shortage of God's power, it's a shortage of God's people. And even when we look at like Sodom and Gomorrah, like God was going to save that city if there was enough people, but there just wasn't.
Yeah.
So
Sheesh.
I don't know.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big.
The laborers are few, but the harvest is plenty.
Harvest is plenty.
The harvest is plenty, and the harvest is a beautiful thing. If you know anything about that, the harvest is a beautiful thing because it's sustainability. It sustains you. You can literally live off of it. It is resources in some cases. It's everything.
Yeah.
But the laborers are few. What if we had many? What if we had many laborers?
Yeah.
How great would that harvest be?
Yeah.
And I think that this conversation is so powerful, and we may even do a part 2. Let us know in the comments down below on this YouTube video or on the podcast, whatever you got to do to let us know, hey, we want to hear part 2 about distractions. But we want to hear from you, because at the end of the day, these conversations are happening here, but we want them to happen in your life because you are God's purpose. You are God's plan, and you deserve to live your life to what He created you to do. So we're grateful. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this podcast, like this YouTube video, share it with a friend, and seriously, share it with a friend. Like, that helps more than anything. If you see a clip on social media from us, post it to your story. It goes away in 24 hours anyway. Just post it, because somebody in your life might need it. And listen, you don't even have to do anything. All you have to do is hit that little arrow button, post it on your story, and guess what? Somebody's going to see it. Even if it's only 10 people that watch your story, it doesn't matter. Those 10 people, out of those 10 people, there might be somebody who needed that word. So share it. Share the videos. Share it on social media. Share it with your friends. Text the link to your auntie, your uncle. I don't care. Just share it. But we love you so much. Thank you for joining us for this Generation 1 podcast, and we will catch you next time. Peace. I just pray that that conversation blessed you and that you got some tools and some strategies for whenever distractions come up against you. And I actually want to take a moment. I want to pray for the person who right now feels like, man, there's so many things going on in life and I'm distracted right now. I want to pray for you that even as you were watching the podcast, I feel like someone's phone was buzzing and buzzing and buzzing and vying for your attention. I want to pray for you right now that God would give you the divine strategy to be able to navigate distractions as they come, that you would be able to be locked in and focused on what He's called you to do. And I want to pray for you right now that you would have the ability to do that, and then you would have the discernment to know what is a distraction. In the name of Jesus, I'm praying for you right now, and I'm believing that God's giving you breakthrough in this moment. And I just want to take a moment as well. If you were blessed by this podcast, please take a moment to sow into what we're doing here at Generation 1. We have so much that's coming for you, and we have so much that we cannot wait for you to get involved with. As a matter of fact, this Friday, we're going to be having a Zoom call. If you go to the link in our bio and you click Get Plugged In, you will be able to get plugged in so you can get emails to get into our Zoom call. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk to each other. We're going to get to know one another, and we're going to talk about what is to come for Generation 1 in 2023, so you don't want to miss it. That's for our tapped-in community, those who are really about the things of God, those who are really like, man, I want to be plugged into what Generation 1 is doing, and I don't want to miss a beat. So make sure you get plugged in. But also, for those who want to sow, again, the information is here. I'm going to put the QR code on the screen, because when you sow, not only are you honoring what God is doing through Generation 1 and 1, but you're also building your faith. I believe that whenever you sow into the things that God is doing, it's you sharpening your faith muscle, because you're saying, God, I trust you with my resources. I know that this is good ground, and I believe, God, that on the other side of this is harvest and breakthrough and healing and the things that only can come from you. So I put my money where my mouth is. I put my heart on the line, and I say, God, I want to place my value in the things of God and not in the things of the world, but I want to place my value in the kingdom. And I believe that on the other side of your seed, God will bring you a beautiful and bountiful harvest. And you will be able to testify that, man, I sowed and I watched God bring in a harvest, and I reaped incredible blessings. And I was able to give more and be a blessing to those around me and the communities that I'm a part of. And I'm so grateful that you decided to join us today. Let us know on social media how this blessed you, what you thought. I want to hear from you. We want to connect with you, because this is just the beginning for Generation 1, and we want to hear from you. So let us know in the comments below if this blessed you. Put a thumbs up on this video, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and to the Generation 1 channel, because we have exclusive BTS content that's going to be coming to you and other things. You want to make sure that you're subscribed to the Generation 1 channel, to the 1 channel, and that you're here next Tuesday for Gen 1 Tuesdays. We love you. We'll catch you then. We'll see you. Peace.